Broadcasting from the Hip Hop Weekly studios, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Civic Cipher, where our mission is to foster allyship, empathy, and understanding. I am your host, Ramses Ja.
He is Ramses Ja. I am Q Ward. You are tuned in to Civic Cipher.
Indeed you are. And it is a different world. And it's up to us to let you know what we learn. And, we're all going to make sense of it with each other. And so today we are going to be talking about an increase in, I guess we would call it anti-woman hate speech, I guess, online, things that you need to know about, things that you can do to push back against it. And for those of you who love a woman anywhere in the world and respect her as well, I think that these are things that you need to know about, just because there are a lot of things that are taking place online, and fortunately we can track those things. And again, you can be empowered and make decisions that are most appropriate for you and for the people in your life. In the second part of the show, we're going to be discussing both political parties and their place in the world. This is something that in recent days I've been wrestling with myself, and so I expect to learn, and I'm hoping that you will be able to learn something along with me. But there's there's that, and there's so much more to stick around for right here on Civic Cipher. But today we're going to have a special installment of Ebony Excellence, because the person we're talking about has long been deceased. But today's Ebony Excellence comes from the Black Information Network. We're talking about the one and only Harriet Tubman. Don't forget, today's segment is sponsored by Actively Black. There's greatness in our DNA. Visit activelyblack.com. All right, Harriet Tubman, a revered abolitionist who led a group of Union soldiers during the Civil War, was posthumously honored as a general roughly 160 years after her service. On Monday, which was November 11th, Tubman was posthumously named a one-star brigadier general in Maryland's National Guard during a special Veterans Day ceremony at the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park, per the Associated Press. Quote, "Today we celebrate a soldier and a person who earned the title of veteran," unquote. This from Governor Westmore, according to a statement. Goes on to say, "Today we celebrate one of the greatest authors of the American story. In 1849, Tubman escaped slavery and settled in Philadelphia. She then established the Underground Railroad, helping lead other enslaved black people to freedom. Tubman went on to serve as a scout, spy, and nurse for the Union Army during the Civil War. The abolitionist once guided 150 black soldiers on a gunboat raid in South Carolina. Moore applauded Tubman for her dedication to helping others achieve freedom. Quote, "She knew that in order to do the work that meant that she had to go into the lion's den. She knew that leadership means you have to be willing to do what you're asking others to do." During Monday's ceremony, a reading of Tubman's official order occurred before a symbolic pinning by her great-great-great-grandniece, Tina Wyatt. Quote, "Aunt Harriet was one of those veterans informally. She gave up any rights she had obtained for herself to be able to fight for others. She is a selfless person." And as I mentioned, normally Ebony Excellence is something that we're able to, highlight someone who is accomplishing something right now, but we couldn't miss the opportunity to commemorate this moment with sharing that story with you. So, all right. So, this one's going to be interesting. We're going to inform you of some things that you may not know about. Now, a lot of folks know that when Elon Musk took over Twitter, that there was a sharp increase in hate speech because he was a self-proclaimed, at the time at least, free speech absolutist. That turned out not to be the case, especially when it was speech that was unflattering, or speech that he just personally just didn't like. But all the other speech was free. And that included the N-word, which, we famously on this show found to be exceptionally disrespectful. The increase in the amount of the usage of the N-word on that platform. But that was one of those things that a lot of people either knew about or, as I'm saying it and you're hearing it for the first time, if that's you, it makes sense, I'm sure. That's the first place people go when the guardrails are off, is to the deepest, darkest, most hateful place that they can go on the internet. And oftentimes that includes attacking gay people or invoking language, or black people or gay people, or invoking language that has harmed and further subjugated these two communities, often using words that is in many cases the last words that people hear in their lifetime. So might come as a surprise to know that that is also happening with women. So I'm going to share a little bit from isdglobal.org. And before there's any pushback, I want you all to know that I am, whenever I come across a new website, a new source of information, a new media outlet, I do a deep dive to determine their credibility and to determine their political bias. I did so with isdglobal.org. I implore you to check it out and do your own deep dive, but I Ramses did this. I did this prior to this recording, of course, and I can say that this is a slightly left-leaning archive of data and statistics. My belief, this is a personal belief, this isn't documented anywhere. My personal belief is that the truth often has a liberal bias to it. So the slightly left-leaning composure of this website didn't throw me off. It might
also be important to point out that data doesn't lean left or right.
Yeah.
When you lead with that, it gives off the impression, you guys are using left-leaning data.
No, it's
There's
not.
no such thing.
Yeah, this is just data. This is factual. But I think that what they're trying to say, because the independent source that determines whether or not something's left or right-leaning, which I used a couple, but the main one, which is I forget the name of it right now, but in any event, the interpretation of the data and how the data reads when you're trying to make heads or tails with the numbers, there might be some bias there, but it was not a strong bias in the least. And again, you're welcome to check this out. Also, I want you to know that this had a high degree of credibility. In other words, the things that I'm saying to you are true and verified, insofar as the checks that I'm able to perform can tell me. With that said, let's move forward. ISD researchers tracked narratives targeting women and the discussion of those narratives between November 4th and 6th, 2024 across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit. The use of derogatory and misogynistic language was already rife among well-noted manosphere and extremist communities on these platforms. And this activity has only gained steam in the past 3 days, according to the data since the election. ISD also observed reports of these narratives being used to harass women offline, particularly on high school and college campuses. In the past 24 hours, there has been a 4,600% increase in mentions of the terms "your body, my choice" and "get back in the kitchen" on X. Similarly, misogynist language, such as the use of dumb C-word to target Harris, television personalities such as Rachel Maddow and others, received more than 64,000 mentions on X from more than 42,000 accounts on November 5th. Nick Fuentes, an influential white nationalist podcaster, appeared to be one of the early instigators in promoting the phrase on November 5th. His X post, "Your Body, My Choice Forever," has since received 35 million views. On TikTok, female users are reporting that accounts are commenting "Your Body, My Choice" en masse on their posts. One TikTok creator stated, quote, "I had to delete a video because I was being threatened, and several men commenting saying they couldn't wait until I get assaulted," or "Your Body, My Choice." Another stated, "I woke up this morning to men commenting 'Your Body, My Choice.'" In a TikTok forum on Reddit, a user posted, Last night, I reported one of the many comments I've seen saying your body, my choice. The comment has been left up and the report has been marked as not a violation. How is that not a violation? Okay. The phrase your body, my choice appears to have made its way offline, specifically onto schools. Young girls and parents have used social media to share instances of offline harassment. They include the phrase being directed at them within schools or chanted by young boys in classes. On Facebook, the phrase your body, my choice is currently trending with 52,000 posts in the last 24 hours. One parent stated, quote, today my daughter was told 3 separate times on campus, your body, my choice. The third group of boys told her to sleep with one eye open tonight. I'm gonna just read the rest of these, or I'm gonna read one more actually, and then we'll get to the rest. All right. On Reddit, users utilized the platform to warn others of offline harassment. One user stated, women are being harassed today at UNM and told to go home where they belong by gangs of men in MAGA gear. All right, I'm gonna stop right there because you get it. And then we're gonna get to some more data and some more instances of this. Again, we're gonna call it anti-women hate speech. And again, this show doesn't exist to make people fearful. I don't believe that that's the right way to be. We try to inspire love and kindness and fellowship and togetherness. But we also need to be knowledgeable about the state that we are in and the people in the world that we live in and their capacity to inflict harm physically or emotionally, and their capacity to threaten harm. So I worry particularly for people who are raising the next generation of women, because they're still determining their identity. And of course, Q is famously one of those people. I see you kind of processing all this right now. Yeah.
My daughter came home from school the day after the election. And her question to me, in the most innocent, childlike way, was, Daddy, I won't use his name, he's so mean. And she's so nice. So how come he won? And to a kindergartner, that logic is so sound. And I could not provide her with a articulated answer that would have satisfied that confusion. Now, as you can imagine, there's been no instances of her watching our former president behave like himself with me, because I don't consume him as content. So wherever she was able to come across the former president and our current vice president, she made 2 determinations. 1, he's very mean. And 2, she's very nice. And given those 2 choices, how does the very mean one come out victorious? I struggled with trying to comfort that question, and I didn't want to brush it off and treat it like it wasn't worth the conversation. I just was not capable of giving her an answer that made sense, because I still, to that point, and maybe still today, have not been able to help myself understand how we got here. Again. And, you know, friends have made fun of me in the past for being far too consumed with our former president, and the hate that he stoked with our country. And I've never regained comfort since the election that he won. I've never exhaled and be like, okay, we're okay. Because he never went away, and neither did his followers. I saw people, with their chest poked out, talking about how they were glad. We've talked about this on the show, that he made racist people come out of the closet. That they were glad that people were saying how they really felt. And I never understood that. I never understood this pride that we had and welcoming people to be outright, overt, blatant, racist, misogynist bigots, because that makes life less comfortable and less safe. Virtue signaling as if we need to know everyone's purest intentions. No, we don't. The people in my life that I love, that are a part of my family and that I actually care about, I need to know how you feel, or I'd love to know how you feel. But even then, if you fake it for our entire life, run it.
Yeah. It doesn't make a real meaningful difference. If you're going
to be nice to me in front of me for our whole life, run it. If you're going to treat me and my family good for our entire life, and then when you go home, talk to your other people about me in a way that's negative, but that has zero impact on my day-to-day, run it. But emboldening people to be the worst versions of themselves shamelessly was always going to prove to be dangerous. From the very first time it happened, from the very first time I saw it, to the point now where when I see that red hat in real life, even to this day, it's staggering. I never expect to cross paths with someone that actually feels that way. So it always catches me off guard, because in my mind, I don't go anywhere where people would be racist, evil, mean, bullies that hate women, that hate everyone that's not white. I'd never be anywhere where those people exist, except I am all the time. And once upon a time, there were two things that we could probably, or that I could have said to my daughter if she come home to me and said that someone said one of these things to her. First thing I do is take her right back to that school and have a conversation with the people in charge, because once upon a time there were consequences for things like this. Once upon a time, people would scream things like this and hide their hand because they didn't want anybody to know that's how they really felt. Except now they wear it on their shirts and their hats and their trucks and on their porch. So then what? If she comes home after being bullied by someone like this, what am I going to do? I have to depend on someone else to be as upset as I am. And every other person in this country is not.
Yeah, at least half,
including women.
Yeah. Wow. So here's the thing. The part of this that has been challenging for me personally is that, and we'll talk about this more in the second half of the show, but I'm trying to understand in this moment how both political parties make the country go, how both parties make the country work. I am a super liberal, left-leaning person. That's just how my heart beats. I'm not given to fear. I'm given to hope. Those sorts of things. I've always been that way. You listen to the show all the time, so you know who I am. But I'm trying to understand the people that don't view the world the way that I do. And I know in my heart of hearts that there are sensitive people on that side, on the right. There are people who are sensible. There are people who are measured. There are people who are kind. This show would not be on the radio right now if it were not for people who voted for Donald Trump the first time. You know what I mean? We can share that story if we want. This is factual. But I think at a point, it's you realize that you're voting for the person who's creating this effect, these numbers, this data that I'm sharing with you. That is the Trump effect. This rise in hate speech, anti-female hate speech. That the person behind that is Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris. And for you to ignore racism, because we talk about racism a lot. And for you to ignore, you have to ignore 100 things to even get here in order to ignore this too. And there's so much that people, half the country, as to your point, Q, half the country still voted for this guy who, again, results in this effect in the population. I'll finish. In some instances, women influencers that cater to traditional values join the male counterparts. Their content included videos of women upset by the election loss of Harris, referring to them as the R word. They have also parroted Trump's remarks from a leaked Access Hollywood video in which he told a TV personality that he grabs women by the genitals. One woman influencer posted on X that Trump had just grabbed Harris by the genitals on election day. That post received 33,000 views. Previous calls to repeal the 19th Amendment, which previously spiked on X on October 22nd, resurfaced online. Posts calling for the repeal of the amendment increased by 663% compared with the week prior. The top 10 posts at the time calling for the repeal of the 19th Amendment received more than 4 million views collectively. And for those that don't know, the 19th Amendment gives women the right to vote. A subset of the narratives were threatening women with sexual assaults. ISD found 5 posts on X that called for sexual attack squads. I'm paraphrasing here. The largest of which had 18,000 views and came with the phrase, "Your body, my choice." Manosphere influencer on Andrew Tate, in a post on X on November 7th, stated, "I saw a woman crossing the road today, but I just kept my foot down. Right of way, you no longer have rights." The post received 688,000 views in under 2 hours. Another X user stated, quote, "Women threatening sex strikes like LMAO as if you have a say." That post has received 10 million views. This is the Trump effect. And for people that have voted for him, it just is, it's heartbreaking, because it's like, you know, the price of bread, the price of no, this is fundamentally changing the country, how we treat each other. And everybody knows a woman. If you don't know a black person, everybody knows a woman that they have to love.
And these feelings didn't come out after he was elected. That I can just grab them by the...
Yeah, that was before he
became the president. Yeah. So it's not like he tricked us. It's not like, oh my God, how did we vote for this guy and not know he was so bad? No, we knew. We knew, and we let it happen.
And the toughest part of this whole thing is that knowing on the other side of that Access Hollywood video that effectively half of the country voted for him 3 times. So these are things that I'll never understand. I think your daughter was right. Normally the good guy wins. The nice guy wins. And yet, and still here we are.